Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like it o'clock, or when I feel like it o'clock, because it's when I feel like it, really. Well, it should be when you feel like it, too. I hope you're not watching this when you're not feeling like it. I am going to do a top 10 NHL draft comparison to players that are in the league today of all of the top 10 prospects in the NHL draft. I also going to add in a little bit of a simulator just for fun. I went to Tankathon, hit the simulator button one time, just once. No playing around, just take what you get, simulated it. And that's what I did that. Okay, I've been getting letters about, is Guido okay? And because he came down with the corona. Guido is our letter guy. It goes down to the mailroom and grabs the letters every day. And we've been getting letters asking if Guido was okay, because in my last episode I said that he had come down with the corona. Well, he's actually fine now. So Julio, who was taking his place, we had to send him off. I don't know where he went, but he did fine for the time he was here. But Guido's Guido, and we love him. Melissa, and thank you also for the letters. Melissa and Hernandez are doing very well. And if you subscribe to this channel somewhere along here and you watch and you go, I must subscribe to this. Hopefully because you enjoy the content. But even if you don't enjoy the content, Melissa and Hernandez, if you subscribe, hit the bell so you know that when the fine programming is coming, like and comment, they will send you a My NHL Pearls of Wisdom necklace signed by me via the Perlocopter. It was the helicopter, but we've now put Perlo on the side of it. And they will send it, go down to where you are and drop down the Pearls of Wisdom necklace, and everybody will do the Perlo dance in the neighborhood where you are, of course. And there will be Frolic in the land. So you do that. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about each team, each player, and who the NHL comparison would be today. Like, you know what I mean? A player of today that would be comparable. Starting off, number one. By the way, I did the Tankathon. So the number one pick was the Ottawa Senators, who have the highest odds of getting it, would get Alexis Lafreniere. Now, I scoured the league looking for a comparable, and he's a left winger, which is it's kind of tough to find a comparable, because I think he's going to be better than every left winger in the league, including Taylor Hall. But the guy that comes closest, I suppose, would be Huberdeau in Florida. However, I think he's a better goal scorer than Huberdeau. So you could take Huberdeau, add about 10, 15 goals a year. Now, you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe Kucherov. Somebody like that, but he's bigger, he's stronger. This guy's a beast, okay? He's almost put up Crosby-like numbers. So maybe 85 to 90% of Crosby on the left wing. How's that for you? There you go, Ottawa. You get that. That's amazing. That would be awesome. Okay, so the next one. Now, Arizona, they traded their first mentioned Taylor Hall to New Jersey on the condition that it wasn't a top 3 pick. And in this simulation, they won and came second in the draft and got I say they get Quinton Byfield. Quinton Byfield comparison. Everybody I've heard to says he looks exactly like Malkin. Okay, but if he was Malkin, you could almost take him number 1. I think Malkin and Jr. would put up better numbers than Quinton. So Quinton is a great two-way player. He's strong. Personally, if I were to take a player, he does look like Malkin in a lot of ways. Like physically, he looks like Malkin when he plays. I just don't think he's got that. I think Malkin is a little bit underrated for his career because he plays behind Crosby. He's a superstar. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And the person I'm about to mention is also going to be a Hall of Famer. I think he's more like a Kopitar. in LA. And nothing wrong with that. Wouldn't Kopitar go pretty fancy there in Arizona right now? Maybe save that franchise, actually. They could certainly use it. The other thing I was going to talk about in these is, can they play next year? I think Quinton Byfield will have to go back for one more year. The reason why is, yes, he's extremely good defensively. He's a great two-way player. There's just elements of his game that most scouts would like to see him be able to improve on. His skating. Not that his skating's bad, but just become like super fast. Also, in the World Juniors, he didn't get an opportunity to really play a lot because he's very young. A lot of people gave him slack for that, saying, well, maybe he's not as good as you think. The fact that he made it at his young age, he's 17.8. Remember, he's barely making it into this draft here. In fact, if he went next year, he'd probably be first overall. Go back. He's just very young. So that's the reason why they think he might go back. But I don't know. This kid is so talented. I could definitely see him making Arizona next year. Arizona's known to play their younger players sooner than a lot of organizations too. The next pick would be the Detroit Red Wings. Now, I'm going to do its thing here. My pick in this would be Lucas Raymond, but from everything I'm hearing, Tim Stützle is the guy that they would be going for. They picked, I was going to look it up. They picked a German player, defenseman last year. I was going to look it up. I completely forgot. But the idea is that all things being equal, Tim Stützle and the guy we're going to talk about next, Lucas Raymond, they're going to take the German to help that young defenseman out. And I wish I would have found out who that was. Maybe I should check it out as I go here, but I don't think you care. All right, I'll put it down in the comment section so you know. Stützle, from what I've seen of him, and there's scouts that have said all different, I've heard a lot of different names, but the guy that he reminds me of most of is actually Barzal. He can play left wing, right wing. Barzal, by the way, can play wings. He's just such a good centerman that they play him up the middle. And I think that's likely what would happen with here. But the greatest advantage, and maybe the reason why the Detroit Red Wings pick him here, is he is so smart. He can play any wing, center, wing or center almost equally as well. But the name is Barzal. He reminds a lot of people of Barzal. Lucas Raymond, this kid is there. I've heard so many different variations of where he could be. From people that are the best scouts that I know that do very well, like Kekalainen supported scouts, say that he is going to be better than Stützle. And although he doesn't play all the positions, the position he does play, he plays at an incredible rate. At a 17-year-old, he was playing against men and doing very, very well. In Sweden, that is rare. There are great Swedish players that have never played at the age of 17 in the Swedish Elite League. This kid is something special. And I don't agree with Detroit. I would be taking Raymond here. And the guy he reminds me of, he's extremely good defensively. He's an amazing playmaker. He's got a great shot, speed, just the whole package, this guy. He reminds me of Mitch Marner. As much as I like Barzal, who would you rather have, Barzal or Marner? Hard to say, really. I'd say Marner. I think Marner's got a greater upside. I may even be tempted to take him instead of Byfield, to tell you the honest truth. But Mitch Marner. And that would be going to, did I tell you who that would be going to? That would have been going to Ottawa in this, if they were to take him here. So they would have what I said was like a Huberdeau, if Huberdeau scores 15 more goals, which is like 35 goals. I think the guy really, Rantanen. So you've got Rantanen, and now you have Marner. Not too bad. Ottawa's future is looking pretty slick, doesn't it? If that's who they take in those. The other player that they could take is the next one is Jamie Drysdale. And I've heard a lot of different comparisons here as well, but the one that most comes up is Makar. And that's rare because Makar hasn't really fully formed yet, but pretty fantastic. And LA is Doughty's getting older, and they could certainly use a defenseman of that caliber. I've also heard him compared to Doughty, but I don't think he's got the size of Doughty, and maybe a little more offensive potential than Doughty, which is saying a lot because Doughty's a great offensive defenseman. So, but the same sort of intensity as Doughty. Makar is a good example. So you're looking at Makar, he could be a point-a-game player throughout his career. Hard not to pick him. This is a fifth pick. This shows you how deep this draft is. The next guy that they have here is not the guy I would put here, but the next player they have in the most scouting play is Cole Perfetti, and he'd be going to Anaheim. Cole Perfetti, to me, he reminds me a lot of Nugent Hopkins. Not too shabby of a pick there. I would say that'd be the best comparison. He could have a higher offensive upside than Nugent Hopkins, but to me, he looks just like him in so many different ways. The player after that, who I would actually put up here, is Alexander Holtz. Alexander Holtz, he's a potential 40-goal scorer. That's the reason why I would put Alexander Holtz up above Cole Perfetti here. And this would be going to Anaheim. He reminds me of Phil Kessel. A young Phil Kessel. Maybe Skinner, something like that. But he reminds me of that. So then we have Marco Rossi, who, again, I would put ahead of Cole Perfetti here. So Cole Perfetti is falling down in my draft. And he reminds me a lot of Braden Point. He can play all positions. He can be a 70-point scorer in the league. He's small, but he plays very big, bigger than a lot of 6'4" guys. Okay, size is not going to be a factor, just like it is with Point. Like when you're watching Tampa Bay play, you pretty much forget the Point is a small player. Rossi is just like that. That would be the guy that I would compare him to. Then comes who I would pick next, and this would go to Montreal, who may not pick it because he's a goaltender, is Yaroslav Askarov. And you can pick pretty much any top goaltender, I suppose, but the one he looks a lot of, I saw this just the other day. A guy compared him to Pekka Rinne, and I agree. He reminds me a lot of Pekka Rinne. I think he's going to be at least as good as Pekka Rinne, maybe better. And that's saying, Pekka Rinne is going to be a Hall of Fame goaltender. So taking him here would be good. Actually, I would think Montreal would be smart to pick him because I think they're going to have to trade Price or let him go anyways in the position that they're in. But Montreal isn't known to making smart decisions lately, are they? No. Then we have Connor Zary at number 10. That's right? Number 10? Yes. Connor Zary at number 10. You can take so many different centers in here, but I'd say again he reminds me of Nugent Hopkins again. Maybe not as good defensively as Nugent Hopkins. Trying to think of somebody else on top of my head. I think Nugent Hopkins. I had Nugent Hopkins again. I'm going to say that classic second line center in Nugent Hopkins. All of these players are, like you think they were still at number 10 and you're picking this type of quality up there. Connor Zary, maybe. The only reason why I would say maybe not Nugent Hopkins is he's probably a better scorer than Nugent Hopkins. Add another 10 goals to Nugent Hopkins' game, and you might have yourself a Connor Zary. Okay, boys and girls, that's our full 42%. I hope you're enjoying all this fine programming. Hit the subscribe and the bell. And for all my Patreon people who are sitting waiting patiently as we start to do our NHL picks again, and you make all the monies like you were making before, I had Helen grind us up some special pearls, some very aromatic. You can spread these around your abode and just breathe in the fine aroma of these special pearls for you. Here you go. There you go, Patreon friends. All to you, all over the Patreon land. Have a great day. Lots of love to you.